This is a continuation, part 2, of my explanations of the 37 categories of dishonorable speech I use to analyze political speech on my website, dishonorablespeechandpolitics.com. Just to reiterate, my intention in coming up with these categories was to make it easier for people, myself included, to precisely identify dishonorable speech and the damages from it. My hope is that if people become more aware of the damages, they may be less likely to speak dishonorably in the future. In this video, I'll cover category numbers 7 through 15. The seventh category is misrepresenting or misquoting what someone says or does to make it sound or look bad, such as by taking it out of context. This has 3 levels. It can make them seem like they have bad attributes, such as being stupid or incompetent. It can make them seem like they have bad intent or are a bad person. And at the 3rd level, it can make them seem like they have evil intent or are an evil person. The damages include limiting the options of the person about whom the dishonor was spoken. An example might be quoting someone as saying, "I don't like people," when what they actually said was, "I don't like people speaking badly about others." The 8th category has only one level and is using vague terms that generally bring up negative emotions, such as mob and a nightmare, about groups, things, and situations, rather than individual people. This category destroys value, such as by limiting options in how people think about something or some group, in a way that is indefensible due to the presence of no real data, vague language, innuendo, etc. The 9th category is comparison to someone or something bad to imply that this person or thing will be just like them. If you've ever heard the saying, "You know who else liked to do blah," Hitler, then you've heard this category being used, even if it may have been a joking version of it. There are 2 levels, bad and evil, and this category inspires an importing of prejudices against the person or thing that may not be reality-based. The 10th category has only one level and is saying something, someone, or someone's characteristic is bad without being specific about what's bad and or appropriately acknowledging the good parts of it. Most things have some good part to them, and representing these things as if there were none is misrepresenting reality. An example would be saying, "NAFTA was a job-killing treaty that must go," without mentioning that there may have been good parts to NAFTA, even if you believe the bad outweighs the good. This form of dishonorable speech limits people's options to make informed, reality-based decisions by not giving a holistic representation of the thing, since there are good aspects that are not being mentioned. Also, saying something's bad without being specific about what's bad destroys value, such as by limiting options in how people think about someone or something, in a way that is indefensible due to no real data, vague language, innuendo, etc. The 11th category has one level and is misrepresenting how things are in reality, such as through exaggeration, and also in terms of logical fallacies such as oversimplification, hasty generalization, cherry picking, the black and white fallacy, it does not follow or false conclusion, straw man, slippery slope, genetic fallacy, bandwagon, appeal to authority, false equivalency, future prediction, and mind reader. There are, in fact, a lot of logical fallacies out there. Although there are many different ways to misrepresent reality, I'll offer some quick explanations and examples of some logical fallacies. Number 1, oversimplification is when you present a complex situation as being more simple than it is in a way in which you lose some key information or understanding, such as the Dow Jones went down yesterday as fears of a prolonged pandemic took hold. Is that the real reason it went down? Or is there some combination of many factors for this complex system? Number 2, cherry picking is only presenting data that supports your case, such as mentioning the number of crimes by immigrants in a particular year, but not mentioning the average crime rate for immigrants versus natural-born citizens. The black and white fallacy is presenting something as if there were only 2 options when there are 3 or more, such as either you're a liberal Democrat or you're a conservative Republican, there is no in-between. It does not follow, false conclusion, is making an argument that does not logically result in the conclusion you give, such as some men love dogs, John's a man, therefore John must love dogs. Some men loving dogs doesn't mean John must love dogs. Straw man is misrepresenting someone's argument and then refuting that misrepresented argument, such as someone saying, "To avoid the possible effects of global warming, we should drive less." And another person saying, "If you hate cars so much, maybe you should live somewhere else." Recommending that people drive less does not equal hating cars. Number 6, The genetic fallacy is when some idea or statement is not evaluated based on its own merit, but based on who or where it came from. An example would be one politician saying, "Global warming presents a grave danger to our future way of life," and another politician saying to that one, "Are you a scientist?" "No, so what do you know?" Number 7. Future prediction is saying you know what the future will be, when no one can know for sure, and an example is a political candidate saying, "If my opponent wins, the Dow Jones will drop by 20% immediately." Finally, number 8. Mind reader is saying you know what someone else is thinking when that's impossible to know. An example would be one politician saying of another, "We all know he only wants to close the borders because he hates foreigners." The damages of this category of dishonorable speech include limiting people's options to make informed, reality-based decisions because you are misrepresenting reality to them. The 12th category is assuming or implying or declaring someone to have bad intent or bad beliefs. For example, rich people only care about money. It has 2 levels, bad and evil. This is a form of misrepresenting reality and relies on the mind reader fallacy. We can never know what someone's true intent is. It limits people's options to make informed, reality-based decisions, as well as limits the options of the person about whom the dishonor was spoken by changing how people think about them. Number 13 out of these 37 categories is opinion offered as fact. An example would be saying, "Such and such football team was the best team ever," without adding an "in my opinion" in there. This category has only one level and limits people's options to make informed, reality-based decisions. It takes time and energy to sift through the opinions and identify the facts that can help you make good decisions. Category number 14 is placing blame without accepting responsibility or looking at broader responsibility. An example would be Republicans saying, "The Democrats have obstructed this good legislation for far too long," or vice versa, i.e. the Democrats saying it about the Republicans. All members of Congress share some responsibility for legislation passing or not, as do all Americans, in who we vote for, how we respond to polls, putting pressure on our congresspeople or not, etc. This category has 2 levels, things you are partially responsible for and things you are totally responsible for. The damages include that this form of dishonorable speech limits people's options, such as the ability to avoid similar bad effects in the future, by encouraging people to be weaker, to blame and deny responsibility. Category number 15 is promoting entitlement and victimhood, or victim mentality. It has 1 level, and its damages include that it inspires people to be less resourceful and consider fewer options to make things happen in their lives. An example would be to say that all billionaires made their money at the expense of everyone else. I hope you found this video useful for continuing to identify some of the different categories of dishonorable speech and what some of their damages are. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss the 3rd and 4th videos in this series. And thank you for watching.